Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. Investigating national security leaks. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. Coming out of all the chaos surrounding the Russian hacking and President Trump's allegation that President Obama somehow tapped the Trump Tower during the campaign should be indictments against those who leak national security information. So out of chaos may come justice. Let's hope so. As we reported last night, there are only two stone-cold facts that we can report in this entire debacle. First, that General Michael Flynn was captured on a wiretap talking to the Russian ambassador, perhaps from Flynn's office in the Trump Tower. That tap happened, but we don't know who ordered it or how it went down. Obviously, the American people are entitled to know. Second fact is twofold. Someone leaked the conversations between Flynn and the Russian ambassador to the press. That's a felony, so we need to know who the leaker is. Associated with that, then Attorney General Loretta Lynch, working for President Obama, ordered the rules about shared intelligence information changed just days before the president left office, just days before Mr. Obama walked out the door. So why did Ms. Lynch do that? Did Mr. Obama order the change? Again, we need to know. It's very important because by national security agency sharing raw information, unvetted, with the FBI, CIA, and other intel agencies, you open up the potential for leaks, and that's exactly what happened. As soon as President Trump walked into the Oval Office, his phone calls to the Mexican president, to the Australian Prime Minister, and to other high-level officials were leaked to the press. So in effect, the Obama administration may have, I emphasize may, created chaos for the Trump administration by allowing unsubstantiated intelligence information to be spread across a number of agencies. This is big. If that were done intentionally to harm the incoming president, Mr. Trump, that's subversion. So you can see that Congress must get to the bottom of the situation. Right now, there are investigations in the House and in the Senate to find out if Russian officials colluded with the Trump campaign. As we reported last night, so far there's no evidence of that. We also don't know anything solid about the wiretaps and leaks concerning Donald Trump. And we need to know. And that's a memo. Now for the top story. Joining us from Washington, Senator Tom Cotton, who is a member of the Senate Intelligence Committee, which is investigating what we laid out in the memo. Senator Cotton also met with President Trump earlier today. So, Senator, tell me about that meeting. What happened?
Hey, Bill, it's great to be on with you. So Senator David Perdue of Georgia and I went to the White House to meet with President Trump. We had a very good, productive meeting. We talked about steps he's already taken to get the economy moving, what we're going to have to do in tandem as a Congress with the president, especially on Obamacare and tax cuts to get the economy growing even faster, to create more jobs, and then in particular, legislation that David Perdue and I have that would try to reorient our legal immigration system away from mass unskilled immigration, which has had such a negative effect on working class wages in America, and moving it towards high-skilled and ultra-high-skilled immigration, as President Trump has said he wants to do. Okay, all right, and we'll get to that in a little while. Did you ask President Trump if he had any information he'd like to give you as a member of the Senate Intelligence Committee, backing up the assertion that President Obama tapped the Trump Tower? Did you ask him about that? No, Bill. We talked about the economy, Obamacare, taxes, and immigration.
Were you curious about that? Or I mean, if you know.
So our inquiry and our review on the Intelligence Committee is moving forward at a good pace. We just got access to a lot of very important documents that otherwise would be very closely restricted. I would point out that it was the Trump administration that gets that access, not the Obama administration. So far, the level of cooperation we've received has been very thorough, and I look forward to moving as quickly as we can in the Intelligence Committee and making as much of our conclusions as public as we can.
I hope you do that. Now, it's a twofold investigation, though, right? Was there collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia? And then, who's leaking out all this stuff? Are you investigating that, the leaks?
Well, Bill, I'd actually step back from those two items to the previous matter. The way this all started was the conclusions of the intelligence community that it was Russian intelligence services behind the hacking and the disclosure of emails from the Democratic National Committee and from Hillary Clinton's campaign chairman. We're digging very deeply into that assessment to analyze the intelligence that supports those conclusions. In recent months, as you say, there have been numerous leaks that allege some very fantastical claims about relationships between Donald Trump associates and Russian intelligence officials. That is going to be part of our inquiry as well. But you're very right that these leaks, regardless the contents of them, are damaging to national security and raise the prospect of serious criminal behavior because they reveal potentially what the United States government knows, what it doesn't know, and therefore what it has the capability of knowing, which we do not want our adversaries like Russia or North Korea, Iran, China.
Sure. I mean, it opens up all kinds of things. But I'm a simple man. I don't know whether you know that. You're from Arkansas. But even down south, they know I'm simple. And I want to know who ordered the wiretap on the Russian ambassador, which picked up General Flynn at, we think, the Trump Tower, but we're not 100% sure. I want to know what agency authorized that. Do you know? Can you tell me tonight who authorized that tap on the Russian ambassador?
Bill, I'd prefer not to speak about what surveillance orders may or may not have been in place because it is a classified matter.
But let me, all right, do you know who ordered it?
Bill, as a member of the intelligence community, I'm aware of and I follow closely what our intelligence agencies do.
Now we're getting somewhere. You know who did it, okay. And I understand if it's classified, but President Trump could make it unclassified like that. Boom. Well, he could say it's not classified anymore, and then you could tell me who ordered it. But let's hope he does that.
So the president does have that kind of declassification authority. I have suggested that some leaders of the intelligence community might want to make some kind of public statement, but I understand the reluctance of them and potentially President Trump as well, because those kinds of statements, those kinds of disclosures do threaten the collection methods that we have all around the world.
It has to be done in an orderly way, but now let me take the next step. You know who did it, what agency did it. So you know who had the transcript made of it, because the agency who tapped had to make the transcript. Then the transcript is leaked, so that you know which agency has to be investigated to find the leaker, correct?
Well, yeah, and Bill, I'd make 2 points about that. First, we've seen media reports that suggested Obama administration officials intentionally spread intelligence information widely, to include just raising it in meetings when it might have been inappropriate to do so. They claimed it was to try to preserve the intelligence. I suspect it was much more likely that they were trying to get it to leak. And then second, something that many Americans don't realize, the FBI is not just a law enforcement service, it's also our main counterintelligence service. The FBI is part of the Department of Justice. The Department of Justice until January 20th was run by Obama political appointees. And the main consumer of intelligence from the intelligence services is the White House, and specifically the National Security Council. So you have many partisan Democrats who are receiving this information, and I think there's a good chance that you might want to look to some of those partisan Democrats who left office on January 20th and are now being identified as former U.S. officials, if you want to know where some of these leaks are coming from.
Well,
I suspect the FBI is doing just that.
You're pointing a finger at the FBI, that the leaks may have come from the FBI.
No, Bill. What I'm saying is that when the FBI is part of the Department of Justice, and the Department of Justice until January 20th, which was a recipient and consumer of FBI intelligence materials, was run by partisan Obama Democrats.
No, all right. But we want to find out who tapped the Russian ambassador and General Flynn, where it happened, and then who transcribed the conversation and leaked it to the Washington Post. I mean, again, I'm a simple man. That's what we need to know. And then
the leaking is the most important material.
Right, because then you can
that
trace
kind of information
back.
Should never be in public.
Absolutely, you can trace back whether that leak was ordered, or where it came from, or any of that. So it sounds like you're hot on the trail. Would you say that's accurate? That you're hot on the trail of this?
We're moving forward very quickly, and we're trying to examine all aspects of it, Bill. Let's say that.
All right. Now we only have a minute. Your new immigration vision is to limit the number of legal migrants who come here for work. Is that correct?
That's right, Bill. We want to refocus legal immigration on high-skilled and ultra-high-skilled immigrants who can contribute to our economy. They won't need to use any kind of public welfare benefits, and that'll mean higher wages for working Americans.
Okay, but what about the agricultural industry and the service industries, construction industries, who need unskilled labor to fill those jobs, particularly in agriculture?
Well, Bill, I'm open to those kind of arguments. It's really an evidence-based question. I would note, though, that there is no job in the United States that is not filled by at least a majority, sometimes a large majority, of native-born Americans. There is no job in America that Americans will not do.
Well, I don't know about that. Now, they have a very hard time in the Central Valley of California recruiting in that hot sun, and down in Florida as well, people to pick the fruits and vegetables. That's not an easy thing.
But, Bill, what I would say to that is that the solution, rather than importing more unskilled and low-skilled workers, might be to raise wages for working Americans who haven't had a pay raise in decades. If you have a high school degree or less,
sure, but you
some
can't
people have seen their wages fall for 17. Well, if we don't have the large surge of mass low-skilled immigration every year that we've had for decades now, the market will work its magic.
Yeah, that's true. It raises would if there's not the competing labor. Senator, we really appreciate you coming on. I hope you'll come back. We want to continue this conversation. Keep us posted on the investigation. It's vital to the country. Thank you very much. Next on the Rundown, Judicial Watch suing the federal government to get answers about the wiretap allegations. We'll have a report on that. Then later, another outrage as the governor of Washington orders his agencies to ignore Homeland Security requests on questionable illegal aliens. Those reports after these messages. Impact segment tonight, a watchdog group called Judicial Watch has filed a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit against the CIA, the Justice Department, and Treasury Department. Judicial Watch wants records pertaining to alleged wiretaps during the presidential campaign. Joining us now from Washington, the president of the group, Tom Fitton. Now, you've called this situation a, quote, scandal. Please define that for us.
Well, the scandal we all know about, and the only one of substance beyond the hacking of the Podesta emails directly, is the leaking of classified information, including the fact that there were wiretaps and the results of those wiretaps. As you point out, the transcript of the phone call between General Flynn and the Russian ambassador. And we asked specifically for those types of records. We got the proverbial hand to the face, but we did get an interesting response from the National Security Agency, Bill, and it goes to the conversation you had with Senator Cotton. And the NSA told us they can't confirm or deny they have any records about that.
Why not? Why couldn't they confirm? Well, maybe they're not involved. Look, I don't know what Senator Cotton knows, but clearly he knows what agency tapped the Russian ambassador and General Flynn. He knows.
Well, the NSA is essentially telling us we can't tell you if we have them. We can't tell you if we don't have them, because to do so would tell you about our capabilities.
Yeah,
but it certainly is highly suggestive.
That's what they all do. Well, it's not the FBI. We can't comment on investigation. They all do that. I think that people need to understand that a Russian embassy, all right, is Russian territory. That's not America. Okay, so therefore, that agencies like the CIA and the NSA, they can go in and they can tap, and they have been tapping for 50 years, all of these people, and people should know that, should know how this thing can be done. So there's a myriad of suspects here. Do you, through your investigation, have you narrowed it down on what you think happened? I don't want you to speculate. It's got to be based on information that you've accumulated.
And we just sued, so we're waiting to get responses back from the agencies, and it's going to be hard for them to say no. And the irony is that President Trump's appointees are the ones who are going to be figuring out how to respond to our litigation here. And it's frankly just the beginning, because there are other requests we have pending. We have well over a dozen requests under the Freedom of Information Act to get access. For instance, we want the transcript. If it's not classified, then release it, and if it is classified, potentially declassify it in part or in whole.
So you want to know what
lots
we're
of
on
opportunities for truth telling.
Okay, but I want to know more importantly.
We want to know who had access to this. We want to know who had access to this information.
Yeah, I want to know who leaked it. I want to know who put it out there.
That's exactly right.
So President Trump accuses President Obama of doing it, but there's no evidence to show. And President Obama is a pretty smart guy. I don't think he would, but his minions certainly could have. They tapped Angela Merkel of Germany. I mean, certainly. So how long do you think it's going to take for your crew to cut through this bureaucratic fog and get these documents so we can figure out what happened?
I think we'll start getting responses from the government in months, and I think we'll get more direct responses than Congress. Remember, when Congress gets documents, they don't necessarily release them all, and when they give the documents to us, we get them out to the public. So it's important to know that there's this independent entity out there that's asking the questions, and we're not relying on the politicians to figure out what's up and what's down.
All right. Well, please let us know what you come up with, Mr. Fitton. We appreciate you appearing this evening. Directly ahead, the personal attacks on President Trump mounting. Do they mean anything, or are people numb? And later, Dana Perino on the new Republican health care proposal. Also, our Law and Order team on another shocking death allegedly caused by an alien criminal. Upcoming. Personal story segment tonight. You might think the attacks on President Trump would ease up a bit because of the enough is enough component. But no.
Most of the people I speak with are transitioning from seeing this as the President of the United States to seeing this man as a circus clown.
What has he created? He's created nothing except chaos.
Donald Trump is destroying the credibility of the office of president 140 characters at a time.
Joining us now from Washington to analyze, Lisa Booth and Juan Williams. So I'm not getting this, Juan. What is the benefit of, a senator, a congressperson, and a former CIA guy who nobody knows who want to insult personally the President of the United States? What's the benefit of that?
Well, typically there's a great deal of deference given to the president, given all the pressures and the responsibilities and the fact that we want to revere our leader, our American president. I think in this case, though, Bill, some of this has to do with the history, going back to Clinton and impeachment, Bush and weapons of mass destruction. And don't forget, Obama and his, where was he born, the birther movement, started by none other than Donald Trump. So I think a lot of people think they are punching back at Donald Trump.
Right, but is there any benefit? Is there any benefit for these people to spout this vitriol? What's the benefit?
Well, I think they feel that they are responding to someone who is insulting them.
In a personal way. Do you see any benefit, Lisa?
Well, I think for the members of Congress, it's to hunker down and placate the left, the liberal base. That's their audience in this effort to try to delegitimize Donald Trump.
So
and that's
you think that they're getting votes? They think they're getting votes by demeaning him personally. That's what
I think for some of these members, particularly someone like Nancy Pelosi, absolutely. I think she's placating, she's pandering to the left, she's pandering to the progressive base. But I think the problem here, Bill, is with the media and the sensationalized rhetoric and coverage that we've seen from the media, because I think that in their effort to try to discredit President Trump, they've discredited themselves. And I think John Dickerson, CBS's John Dickerson, was absolutely right when he said that the media didn't need Trump to discredit them. They did it themselves.
I agree with you. And what do you think about what I want? I think the media has damaged itself almost beyond repair with its obvious hatred of President Trump. There's a difference between issues and just trying to destroy somebody. So what do you think about Lisa's point, the media has hurt itself?
No, I think if you look, I just look at the numbers. The ratings are up across the board for conservative and liberal outlets. Newspapers are selling more copies. People are very plugged into what's going on. I don't think it's fair to blame the press. And if you look at the polls, people don't have a high opinion of the press, so you can pick on them pretty easily. But the reality is here that Donald Trump sends out tweets. He knows how to get around the press anytime he likes. So I think a lot of this has to do with the character of the president.
You don't think the press has damaged itself, its credibility in this country by all this hate? You don't think so?
Oh, look, Bill, I think it's a sewer, and you and I have had discussions about the internet and all that. But no, I think that a lot of these people, contrary to what Lisa said about Pelosi, this is not about getting votes at this point. I think there are a lot of people who feel like Donald Trump goes over the line.
And so they have to try to destroy him. All right, Lisa, last word.
Well, Bill, I think the irony of this is the entire Russia narrative that is being driven by the media without a shred of evidence that there was collusion or any influence over the election. The idea behind it is the concern of the driving of distrust in institutions. But we're doing a good enough job on its own when you've got the media driving narratives without a shred of evidence. You've got Democrats calling for the abolishment of the Electoral College or calling electors to defect. We're doing a good enough job on our own of building that distrust in various institutions.
Gotta go. Thank you, guys. Plenty more Heads Up Factor moves along this evening. Is the Republican version of Obamacare good for you, the solid American citizen? Dana Perino has some thoughts. And more illegal alien criminal chaos. This time, a Los Angeles woman killed allegedly by a man deported 5 times. Hope you stay tuned for those reports. Dr. Follow-up segment tonight. As we reported last night, Republicans in the House have put forth a new version of Obamacare. Keeps some of the provisions, like you can't be denied health insurance because of a pre-existing condition. But it does away with people being forced to buy health insurance and direct subsidies to folks who can't afford it. It is expected most Democrats will reject the new health care proposal. Some conservatives don't like it either. Here now to explain further, Dana Perino, close to the 5. You like this proposal?
Well, it's the issue that never goes away.
No.
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
I have to tell the audience, I just don't know enough about the inner workings. But to me, a simple man, that's the theme of this program, it comes down to whether the folks will get the doctor they want for a price they can afford. Isn't that what it comes down to?
It does, and it also comes down to fulfilling a campaign promise. Republicans, including President Trump, campaigned saying, we will replace Obamacare and we're going to make it great.
Okay, but then you have conservatives coming out, this is the worst thing in the world, this is a sellout, because they don't like the tax credits given to people, and that's, again, free money.
And they also don't like the fact that the Medicaid expansion was allowed to stay in, and also in this particular bill, this is like one of the specifics, in this version in the House, you can't actually deal with selling insurance across state lines.
Yeah, but they say that's going to be reconciled.
So it's taken a while. What I thought was interesting is that when you think of Obamacare, when President Obama worked on that, 58 speeches, a lot of political capital spent.
Right.
He was able to keep Democrats all in agreement, right?
Yeah.
But he spent a lot of time, a huge amount of political capital. And I wonder if President Trump is going to be willing to do the same thing, because already Republicans, you see,
well, you got Rand Paul doesn't like it, and then you have some, pretty
Freedom Caucus people.
Yeah, they just don't.
But they have some legitimate gripes.
I'm sure, because a massive bill like this, it can't be perfect. I mean, I'm not espousing the bill. Again, I just want the people of the country to have the ability to get health insurance. If they don't have any money, I think we got to help them out. All right? If you're broke and you're destitute for whatever reason, I think you got to help them out.
And President Trump should feel a lot of confidence in his Secretary of Health and Human Services, Tom Price.
He likes it. He likes
He likes it, and he's calm. But one of the things he did is he didn't promise that you could keep your doctor afterwards. He said, I'm not going to do that. And I thought that was refreshing.
Okay. Now, if all the Democrats will vote against it, and they probably will, maybe a couple of exceptions, but they probably will. So then, as you say, President Trump's got to get all the Republicans in line or it doesn't get passed.
Well, and he's going to probably have to pick off a couple of Democrats. I don't think that it would be good for President Trump to pass a Republican-only bill, as President Obama did with Obama. I think that because he is a negotiator, he should be able to get a few Democrats, maybe like a Senator Manchin. But my point is, it's going to take a lot of effort, and I don't know how much political will he's able to expend. And
that's
also,
big. It's big for him.
And he could do it in a charming way, but he has to break some kneecaps.
In the end, he has to say, look, if you do this for me, I'll do this for you down the road. That's how, as you know, how presidents get things done.
Little deal making.
Yeah, right. I'll owe you one. Do you think that's realistic? Last question.
I don't know, and I think that we'll all just have to see how this shakes out.
It's going to take a while for this to
it won't be solved by April, even though he wants to get it done quickly.
Right. All right, Dana Perino, everyone. When we come right back, law and order in Washington State. Governor there says he's not going to cooperate with Homeland Security on illegal immigration. The Guthrie McGurk on Ben Carson's controversial comments about slaves. Moments away. Next with us, I'm Bill O'Reilly in the Law and Order segment tonight. The Governor of Washington State, Jay Inslee, has ordered his agencies not cooperate with Homeland Security when the feds ask for an illegal alien to be detained.
This executive order makes clear that Washington will not be a willing participant in promoting or carrying out mean-spirited policies that break up families and compromise our national security and, importantly, our community safety.
With all due respect, the governor's a dunderhead, and I'm going to prove that to you in a moment. Here now, attorneys and Fox News analysts, Ebony Williams and Kimberly Guilfoyle. So, the governor says he'll obey warrants, all right, which he has to obey, or they could arrest him.
Right.
All right? But he will not allow his people in Washington State to respect requests for detainers. What's the difference between a detainer and a warrant?
Okay, so an arrest warrant is not a request. This is something that is supported by probable cause, and he cannot by law ignore it. A detainer, and that's criminal, okay, supported by probable cause. A detainer is merely a request, and he is not under an obligation to comply with ICE, and it is civil.
There isn't a law
nature.
that says he must. Now, detainers are asked for by the federal government when they believe a person is going to be deported.
Subject to removal by the United States.
They don't ask him because they don't like the color of his car or because of any other reason.
Right.
ICE believes that this person has enough bad things that he or she is going to be deported.
Yeah, that they're
so this isn't some little thing.
No, it's very serious.
What do you say?
Yeah, you're exactly right. But that standard distinction between probable cause that's required in the warrant and reason to believe, rather, that's the standard for the detainer.
So why would any honest civil servant say, I'm not going to cooperate with the federal government when they ask for a specific detainer?
I can tell you why, Bill.
Go.
Because it will clog the docket. If they indeed complied, as they should with every detainer, it would clog the docket so miserably that it would actually further disrupt our broken
Well, that hasn't happened in Texas and Florida, where they do respect it.
Yeah, their states
They haven't clogged any dockets.
Sometimes.
Okay.
Not like
Here's the problem.
That's feeble, Ebony.
It's
Your
true.
excuse is
It's
feeble.
true.
Clogging
That's what I
is feeble.
said.
Then unclog.
She's giving the the justification for why they would do so.
what they
I
say.
suggest that actually makes a bigger problem and is an
There's no
issue with
justification.
public safety, because some of these people have committed crimes and should be removed from
Here
the
it is.
country.
Here's the hammer right now. You ready for the hammer, everybody?
Sure.
Here's why the governor of Washington State is a dunderhead. All right. Let's put up Sandra Duran's picture. I don't want to see him anymore. All right. Let's look at Sandra Duran, 42-year-old mother. All right. And she's killed in a car crash in Los Angeles. She has kids, right? How many kids, Ebony?
At least one child in the car with her during this horrible,
So she's
deadly accident.
Dead. She's dead. The police say a man named Estuardo Alvarado killed her while driving drunk. Tell me about Mr. Alvarado.
Worst thing about him, Bill, this was a habitual DUI. This was not his first time driving drunk behind the wheel. Been deported 5 times, multiple felony convictions.
So he was deported 5 times.
5 times.
Arrested 20 times.
Yes, over the course of the years.
Okay, now, he didn't have a warrant out for him, did he?
Not currently, not in this moment.
No, he didn't have a current warrant.
No.
But if ICE knew where he was, they would have put out what?
They would have put out a detainer.
A detainer! A detainer, which they wouldn't have honored.
In Los Angeles.
Okay?
Yeah.
This is what makes me furious.
This is the worst case scenario.
No, that's not the worst case scenario.
It is.
That's a real scenario.
It is.
There's a woman who's dead.
And that's horrible.
And this detainer would not have been honored by Los Angeles as a sanctuary city in the county, or this idiot governor of Washington State. Okay? So that's the hammer. Now let's hear from the woman's father.
So much was taken away from us that it's a pain you cannot describe, and is there, and it will be till the rest of our lives. But her big smile, her pictures just keeps us going. We're keeping her smile and pray every day, and it seems like she's here right now.
All right, so now there's a child without a mother. And this guy man was deported 5 times. He didn't have a warrant out, and arrested 20 times. Okay, still in the country.
Already had DUIs.
Right. And if ICE knew where he was, they would have asked L.A. for, as we said, for a detainer, and it would have been turned down.
L.A., New York,
This
Washington.
is why I'm just crazed about this, and Kate's law should be passed.
You're absolutely right, and this is
then the guy would have been in jail for defying deportation.
Right. And you don't even need to see the hundreds of cases like this that happen across the country. One of them is sufficient reason for them to uphold the law and honor the request.
Right, so Kate Steinle is dead, and now Sandra Duran is dead.
Right.
But Kate's law still isn't passed, because if you had Kate's law, the guy who did this, Ebony, could have been swept off the street and put into prison right there.
He also should have never been back in the country, Bill.
Okay,
And
that's why
the
they
other
want to build the wall.
That's the other issue.
That's why they want to build the
We already
wall.
had reason to know this guy was deadly and dangerous, Bill. He should have never been back.
But he's an habitual offender and a criminal
But it's not an isolated worst case.
No, it's not
isolated.
But
It's
that's
just
the
the
point.
worst
All right.
That's why it's a detriment to public safety, and those removal
Kate's
orders
law
need to be
has
honored.
got to be
There's no
fast-tracked.
excuse for it,
All right, I
of
just want to mention that Ms. Guilfoyle is on the podcast, the Factor podcast.
Yes, Robert
and
Samuel
she's
interviewed
telling all her secrets, and we appreciate it, ladies. Gutfellow McGurk on deck. Ben Carson fielding some controversy about slavery. The boys are next. Back in the book segment tonight, what the heck just happened? New Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, Ben Carson, spoke about opportunity yesterday.
That's what America is about. A land of dreams and opportunity. There were other immigrants who came here in the bottom of slave ships, worked even longer, even harder for less. But they too had a dream that one day their sons, daughters, grandsons, granddaughters, great-grandsons, great-granddaughters might pursue prosperity and happiness in this land.
Now, by calling slaves immigrants, Dr. Carson's getting hammered. For the record, anyone forced to leave their homeland is not an immigrant. Certainly slaves were abused human beings who had no choice about where they lived or even what they did. But if you listen to Dr. Carson's speech, his point was that even those most abused on this planet have dreams. And those dreams are now achievable, according to Dr. Carson, in the USA. Now, Bernard McGurk and Greg Gutfeld. I always think that before you condemn someone for a mistake, a verbal mistake, Gutfeld, of which you make tons of them every single day.
Not like that one.
No. But it wasn't done out of malice, and it wasn't done for any other purpose other than to make a point that America is a land of opportunity. Now, Dr. Carson has, I wouldn't say apologize, but he's issued a statement that says, you know, look, it's not what I meant here. The slave narrative and immigrant narrative are two entirely different experiences. So he does acknowledge his mistake. But should he be crucified for this?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it depends on who says this sort of thing. When Ben Carson says it, it's idiotic. But when President Obama says it, it's brilliant. You know, he made the same comparison, slaves as immigrants, at
and I didn't know that.
At a naturalization ceremony in 2015 and also in 2012. The Federalist has a list of the times that he has made these comparisons. So it is out there. The fact is, he made a decent point about the American dream, but he kind of poisoned the stew. It's like it's hard. You're not going to eat it.
Was President Obama's, because you're catching me by surprise here, I did not know that. Was his point the same thing about slaves?
He said that immigrants all the people that are here, our ancestors, share a commonality. We came from somewhere else, some by slave ships, some by the Rio Grande. So he said he might have been more eloquent, but he was also President Obama. So you get more slack in the media.
You wouldn't, yeah. No, what do you say?
It's to stipulate in defense of Dr. Carson, he was speaking extemporaneously. They weren't prepared remarks. Maybe he should have had prepared remarks. But
that's a big one, though, as Gutfeld pointed out. You've got to, whenever you're talking about slavery, which was so horrendous and still has an impact to this day, all right? You've got to really, it's almost like talking about the Holocaust.
Oratorically,
very.
Oratorically, it's like leaving a sponge or a scalpel in the brain after surgery.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You've got to really be careful.
But when you're a black Trump supporter or official, you're in the leftist crosshairs. You have to be very.
Sure, they want to get him, and I don't think, and that's my point. I don't think it was ill intent here, and I think that this was actually a good thing. So you open discussion about slavery, because I don't think a lot of Americans know how bad that was. And you know, we kind of slough it off, but we shouldn't. We should talk about it, Gutfeld.
You know what? You can't talk about it enough. There was another point that he was talking about. He was talking about how you could electrically stimulate a brain so that you can recall reading a book that you read 50 years ago. And I thought, why don't you just go and buy the book?
This was in the same speech?
Yes.
He was going through a lot of
Yes, he was trying to give advice to these
Listen, on the bright side, Bill, it wasn't Jeff Sessions who said this. He would have got speaking of crucified. And the double standard, too. A guy like Keith Ellison can sit on his butt during a standing ovation for a Navy Widow SEAL, and you barely hear boo about that, but a guy like Ben Carson, because they hate him. They want him to fail. They want him and Trump to fail miserably, so they're going to come after him.
Yeah, and I don't think the doctor deserves that. I think the doctor is a compassionate man. I'm glad he's in that position. I think he's going to do some good in that position, because his message is twofold. Self-reliance, right, which is really the way that people who are deprived have to do it.
Which is what he did.
Right. And that this country does offer opportunity if you're willing to work hard for it. And that message was what he got diverted on with the slave thing. So we all forgive him here on the Factor?
Oh, absolutely.
I'm not sure yet.
No, Gutfeld, you're still, you're a tough man, Gutfeld.
I am a tough man.
I forgive you for wearing that shirt.
I think we should have Dobbs and Ducey here. We need an all-white man panel.
Okay, let's just generalize about white guys, all right? Let's just do that. That's a good subject. All right, gentlemen. Factor tip of the day, another plea for sanity on cable news by me. The tip, moments away. In fact, tip today, we've got to stop something occurring on cable news. We have to stop it in a moment. First, a mail, Julian West, Lakewood, Colorado. O'Reilly, you're misleading your audience. General Flynn was not wiretapped. The Russian ambassador was. There's a difference. No, there's not. Flynn may not have been the tap target, but his words are recorded. And then they were leaked to the press. Thus, he was tapped. There are strict guidelines to protect Americans against that kind of thing. Come on. Mary Ellen Schultz, Celebration, Florida. Bill, thanks for simplifying the wiretap fiasco in your talking points. I'm so tired of he said, she said. Me too, Mary Ellen. Suzette Hook, Woodland, California. Bill, why can't President Trump simply examine all the FISA warrants? Doesn't he have that right? Yes, he does, Suzette. But the probable tap on the ambassador, the Russian ambassador, may have been ongoing. We simply don't know the circumstances, and we should. Earl Robinson, Bronx, New York. President Obama is not a stupid guy. He would not order Trump to be tapped illegally. Are you guys at Fox angry about what could be on the transcripts? Number one, it is not likely that Barack Obama himself ordered anything. I agree with you. But on his watch, the NSA tapped the German chancellor, for example, and a bunch of other folks. So there's a history. Number two, Earl, if verifiable bad things are on the transcripts, I'd like very much to know about them, along with how the information was gathered. Fair? Francesco Tenti, Huntington, New York. Charles Krauthammer comparing what Citizen Trump said about Barack Obama's birthplace to the relentless attempts to destroy Trump's presidency is intellectually dishonest. John Eubanks, Killeen, Texas. Krauthammer is right when he says that Mr. Trump's troubles didn't start when he was elected. I voted for him and knew what I was getting. Tim Fagerstrom, Asheville, New York. Mr. O, you said you do not believe, you said do not believe what you read in the press. Did you mean that literally? Yes. Be very skeptical of all political reporting, especially if anonymous sources are used, Tim. Phyllis Foote, Jefferson, South Carolina. Just became a BillO'Reilly.com premium member and chose Old School as my free gift. The book will be out 3 weeks from today. Phyllis, and you and all the other PMs who order it will get it first. And I believe you will like it. If you don't, I will be crushed. Ryan Cullison, O'Fallon, Missouri. I'm 11 years old, and I'm reading Killing the Rising Sun. I've learned so much that I plan on reading all your books. Excellent, Ryan. You'll be way ahead of your classmates in history. A very good advantage for you in life. And finally tonight, the factor tip of the day. You may remember that I put out an all-points bulletin for politicians and pundits to stop saying the words at the end of the day.
But at the end of the day.
At the end of the day.
At the end of the day.
But at the end of the day. But at the end of the day.
But at the end of the day.
You know, at the end of the day.
End of the day. What?
At the end of the day.
But at the end of the day.
I need Obamacare. I have a massive headache. Stop! This is verbal pollution. We actually have a fine system here on The Factor for FNC employees who say, at the end of the day on this program. I can't fine former presidents or senators. I wish I could. But once again, at the end of the day does not ever need to be uttered again. Factor tip of the day. That is it for us tonight. Please check out the Fox News Factor website, different from BillO'Reilly.com. Also, like you to spout off about The Factor anywhere in the world. O'Reilly at FoxNews.com, O'Reilly at FoxNews.com. Name in town if you wish to opine. Word of the day, you have to be fulsome when writing The Factor. And tomorrow, some ladies are taking off from work. I don't know why, but I'm going to find out. And we'll have a report. Again, thanks for watching us tonight. I'm Bill O'Reilly. Please remember the spin stops here. We're definitely looking out for you. Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. Investigating national security leaks. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. Coming out of all the chaos surrounding the Russian hacking and President Trump's allegation that President Obama somehow tapped the Trump Tower during the campaign should be indictments against those who leak national security information. So out of chaos may come justice. Let's hope so. As we reported last night, there are only two stone-cold facts that we can report in this entire debacle. First, that General Michael Flynn was captured on a wiretap talking to the Russian ambassador, perhaps from Flynn's office in the Trump Tower. That tap happened, but we don't know who ordered it or how it went down. Obviously, the American people are entitled to know. Second fact is twofold. Someone leaked the conversations between Flynn and the Russian ambassador to the press. That's a felony, so we need to know who the leaker is. Associated with that, then Attorney General Loretta Lynch, working for President Obama, ordered the rules about shared intelligence information changed just days before the president left office, just days before Mr. Obama walked out the door. So why did Ms. Lynch do that? Did Mr. Obama order the change? Again, we need to know. It's very important because by national security agency sharing raw information, okay, unvetted, with the FBI, CIA, and other intel agencies, you open up the potential for leaks, and that's exactly what happened. As soon as President Trump walked into the Oval Office, his phone call